To me, co-design means exactly that, co-design. You're working directly with people who are the recipients of the final product and who get to engage in that process of saying, what's important to me? What do I need to know? Here's what other people need to know as we move forward.
It means every equal partner is collaborating, and that's essential to any successful story. I live it every day.
De mon côté, c'était vraiment plus apprendre c'est quoi le co-design finalement, parce qu'au début, j'avais pas vraiment de connaissances. C'était une méthode qui m'intéressait.
Pour moi, le co-design exprime vraiment la situation que je vis dans ma réalité, c'est-à-dire que je suis considéré comme l'égal des chercheurs avec affiliation.
Mais c'était pas vraiment quelque chose que je savais faire, donc ça a vraiment été une occasion d'apprentissage superbe de vraiment voir OK, c'est quoi du co-design? C'est quoi les étapes pour faire du co-design?
L'important à mon sens, c'est qu'il y ait une implication plus importante qu'une seule étape du processus scientifique, mais ça peut être simplement une consultation.
Comment est-ce que ça part du papier à on fait des entrevues, on fait des focus groups? Là, il y a des résultats qui sortent, donc c'était vraiment apprendre tout le processus vraiment d'une façon très pratique finalement.
Co-design to me means collaboration in all aspects.
I think for me, as someone with lived experience with autism and also who has done autism research, I think it's very important to capture the voices of autistic people in research and in curriculum design and education.
That would also include their caregivers, clinicians, policymakers, as well as researchers and trainees.
It's just like taking the people with the expertise in the field as well as people with lived experience and taking them together and making this curriculum.
In the lab, I got called slurs. I was made to feel less than because my motor skills weren't all there, even though academically I was very capable, I guess. But when you're getting called slurs in the lab, it's very inappropriate in a professional environment. And it really took a toll on my mental health, anxiety, depression, and it made me realize that I'm not the only one going through this, and so many people experience ableism, and I really wanted to, it was at that point that I was like, no, I need to make a change in the system, and, so other people don't experience what I'm experiencing right now.
I had a pretty terrible experience when I was a PhD student where we had done an experiment and a mom and her son showed up, and her son was pretty impacted by intellectual disability, and I was not able to use him in my experiment. And it was heartbreaking to have to tell that to the family. It was a terrible experience, and it really got me thinking about why are we designing studies that are excluding roughly 30% of the population that we hope to serve.
Participatory research approaches is a very important way forward for this reason, because then you are capturing the perspective of people with lived experience as equal partners. And I really do believe that's important in this day and age.
Et c'est important de voir que là, en l'occurrence, elle sentait que c'était vraiment un espace qui, justement, elle avait l'impression qu'elle pouvait vraiment contribuer.
There are ways that we can include more of the population in our studies, and it's better research. It allows us to say that our findings are more generalizable and are not just applying to people who can actually tolerate testing conditions.
But I think you really have to invest into beginning with people who have lived and living experience and to learn from them and to not just take what you need to know and walk away again, but to really keep people involved throughout the whole process so that hopefully, ultimately, you wind up with something that they feel really invested in, committed to, that it came from them, that it represents their ideas.
And so I think any studies or any program like CanNRT can really help researchers by allowing us to think about critically and brainstorm together, how do we make this generalizable? How do we include more people in our studies? To be honest, I use co-design in everything I do. The resources that I create for autistic individuals, I work with autistic individuals directly. We make sure that whatever we're doing is meeting the needs of the community we hope to serve. And I really appreciate the co-design process that I went through with CanNRT.
And I just really wanted to help create a curriculum that was inclusive and respectful. I wanted to be a part of that.
The values were really the most important thing to the people who participated, and what they told us was that this set of core values needs to permeate every aspect of CanNRT, such as really valuing the strengths and diversity among people with neurodevelopmental conditions, or things like really training people to do high quality, ethical research that uses inclusive methodologies, or being able to make the outcomes of this research accessible to a wide variety of people so that it can have a meaningful impact in the communities, and it should be the communities that determine what's meaningful to them. There was such a warm embrace from these communities where we're coming in as sort of outsiders, and they were really generous, and I think helped keep the motivation going over a long period of time, and certainly generated a lot of hope for what we could accomplish.
We're doing all these amazing things in the research world, but we're actually pretty terrible about telling the people who need to know it what this means for them and what they can do with that information.
We reviewed the findings of the curriculum co-design project with a focus on...
So to have the opportunity as a trainee to utilize methods but on a national scale or across the country really allowed me to kind of it challenged me, but allowed me to develop a methodology skill set in a way that I didn't necessarily anticipate would be part of my PhD journey.
Being able to give back and say, okay, this was what was valuable for me, and for the people who come behind me, these are the things they need in order to be successful, I think is a really helpful process for everyone. And it allowed me to reflect on just how much the art program did for me, and allowed me to connect with researchers across Canada.
Some of us, including myself, realized that the view in different provinces is actually different. So it was nice to collaborate and see with someone else's perspective, not just in the design phases, but in what was happening in reality.
So I just hope that people go in with more openness, more open-mindedness, and yeah, I mean, that's what I really hope for the participants of CanNRT.
I hope to see that all our pieces of the puzzles have been matched together to come up with a sort of a united viewpoint and observation and finished product.
Really, I think people felt like they could share their whole self and their whole story, and that, I don't know, that sense of vulnerability and trusting us to take that and to do something meaningful with it was probably my most valued piece.
Collaborate with the people you're working with. I think this collaboration is so important. Get to know people. That's really the only message that I have, is just, open-mindedness and collaboration.
L'objectif qui serait intéressant d'avoir à court terme, ce serait plutôt la reconnaissance que le co-design est une méthodologie de recherche valable comme les autres, et que c'est pas inférieur parce qu'on est en co-design, et que le savoir expérientiel peut être l'équivalent d'un savoir académique.
C'est vraiment voir comment est-ce que je pourrais intégrer des éléments justement de co-design dans les projets futurs.
I don't think the journey's over yet.